Hey, I'm Austin with Training Tall and welcome back to another rowing video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the top tier athletes of the world of the Tokyo Olympics. We're going to be taking a look at their on the water rowing technique, and we're going to see how we can apply that on the water technique to help us better understand our own rowing technique on the rowing machine. Because believe it or not, rowing technique on the water is very similar to rowing technique on the rowing machine. So we're going to take a look at the key aspects of rowing form that a lot of people tend to miss out on or not think about, and we're going to hopefully be able to apply what these Olympic caliber athletes do on the water to our own rowing on the machines. So to kick things off here, we're going to be taking a look at the gold medalist, Ireland's boat for the lightweight men's double. We're going to be taking a look here, just watching their form in slow motion. Then we're going to take a look at the women's pair, and then we're going to look at rowing machine stuff. So let's get into it here. Now, as we look at this first stroke, coming up to the catch position, we can see here right away how this relates to our form on the rowing machine. We bend our legs, we come to the front end, reaching our arms out. Now, one thing I want you to notice about the form here, and this is something that we'll take a look at with the women's boat as well, but one of the biggest misconceptions about rowing technique is having a proud chest, a tall chest at the catch position at the front end of the rowing stroke. That is incorrect. We can see right here that you might even argue that this posture of these men is poor posture when we think of other exercises, maybe something like a deadlift where we need to be a little bit more strict with a neutral spine. But whether it's these athletes or if we take a look at these New Zealand women here, we can see that the front end position here, we have rounded forward shoulders and back positions that are slightly rounded as well. It's not this straight, rigid, leaned forward position. The reason why this is to help get leverage and length at the front end of the rowing front end of the rowing stroke, because length and leverage is essential to row as efficient as possible. And when we get out of this kind of tall chest arms position and get more into a shoulders rounded forward, we get extra inches on our stroke, and this allows us to hang from the handle or hang from the oar more. If we take a look here at what this idea of the hang is, first off, notice how high their hands are. We can see that their wrists are almost in line with their shoulders at the catch position. We can see that right here with these men's boat as well. If we look right here, as they start their drive, their wrists and their shoulders are almost vertical to each other. This is essential on the rowing machine as well, that we keep our hands lifted at the front end and really looking at the chain or the strap and really trying to feed the machine. If I pop over here to this RP3 rower, well, he's a Brazilian rower, but he's on an RP3, which is a dynamic rowing machine. This applies to the Concept 2, to any other static rowing machine, but we can see here too, his hands are lifted nice and high. And again, we also see that lean forward, rounded shoulders position. That's just how these top athletes row. Now we can see that during the drive of this stroke here, they're towards the end of the race. So we can see that their arms are bending a little bit, but the idea there with that lean forward position, they're getting their arms up and they're trying to hang from the handle as they push the legs first. Take a look at this. As they drive their legs, we can see that their body is still in this slight lean forward position as they're driving their legs down. A big mistake that a lot of us make is as we push our legs, we start leaning back at the same time, where in order to create the most efficient and powerful force curve, it's essential that we keep the body forward as we push the legs, then swing through. We can really see that body emphasis here on the, let's see if I can rewind a little bit more again. We can see the body emphasis on push to swing. They're really throwing their bodies back here. They drive the legs and swing and pull. And we can see that again here in the women's boat as well. Drive the legs, swing through. And even in this finish position here, we're not seeing the proud chest. We're seeing elbows back, shoulders down, and in a position to get right back up for more length and leverage at that front end. But even though the posture is not great here, we can see that the body is in the layback position. We can see this movement from 11 to 1 throughout the stroke. Here's that 11 o'clock layback. If we look at bow seat, and as we come up to the front end, boom, there we go. We've got the 1 o'clock position. Another thing to see here is with the 1 o'clock lean forward, one thing that's common amongst all these athletes, these Olympic caliber gold medalists, we can see that they are leaning their torsos onto their thighs. We can also see that here in the men's boat as well, really bringing that torso to the tops of the thighs to really establish that shoulders forward position, that hip hinge forward. And when we look at this, how this applies on the rowing machine, the same idea as well, torso onto thighs. Now, for a lot of us, we might not have the flexibility or the lower back strength to be able to get into this position, but it's something to strive for over time. Being able to get, as far as this body lean position, his back is actually fairly straight here, even though he's still being able to get the shoulders forward. That's just due to having very flexible hips, very flexible hamstrings, and not having a large midsection in the way as well. But when we look at the leg compression here, knees over ankles, this is also what these athletes are striving for. Not necessarily the men here at the very end of the race. I know it's only a small clip we can see here. But when we look at the leg compression, they're actually not quite going to knees over ankles. And that's because they're getting close to the end of the race. The stroke rate is very high. This is slowed down to quarter speed. So the stroke rate is really, really high right here. Lightweight boats, especially usually smaller individuals, you gotta be a lightweight. So the stroke rates tend to be higher as well. That's another theme of rowing. When you're trying to sprint, you need to lessen the leg compression. We never compromise the body lean forward and the body swing back, because that's where all the power is. Now look at the finish position here for the men. Notice here, the shoulders are down and relaxed. Something that a lot of us tend to do when we're on the rowing machine is shrug up as we pull on the handle, whether it's below the chest, where it should be, or up here. These guys aren't carrying any tension in the head, neck, or shoulders. That way they can keep all the action in the lats, in the legs, in the hips. And this is something that we see through on the women's side of rowing as well. Even with the posture, we can still see the shoulders are down and relaxed. And what happens when we get onto the rowing machine? It's the same idea here. As we pull on that handle, shoulders down away from the ears. This keeps things as efficient as possible and make sure that you're not using the wrong muscles for the rowing stroke. That way you don't fatigue the muscles that you don't need to fatigue, the muscles that aren't really gonna help you generate more effort on the rowing stroke. So that's kind of it. I mean, other than that, we can see here how the oar translates to the rowing handle. We've still got that sequencing of arms, core, and legs to the front end of the stroke. I want to highlight again here the knees over ankles position as the women here are rowing long and strong through the middle of their race. That's something we want to strive for as long as we can keep our lower backs safe. Well, we might look at this posture and think, man, that's some pretty poor posture. These athletes have trained in this position to be able to handle that. I mean, rowing back injuries are very, very common. But the simple fact of the matter is this tall, neutral spine, chest proud position is just something that we don't see in rowing. So we need to be able to find the balance of being able to protect our lower back, but still being able to get those shoulders to round forward, to really get the reach, to get the hands high up in position so we can drive the legs before leaning back. Look right here at stroke seat here. Notice the legs are almost pressed down. Body is still leaned forward. Arms are still outstretched and high. That's how you hang from the oar. You hang from the handle as you push, swing, and pull. And that is how you drive maximum power into your stroke. And that is how you walk away with a gold medal. So I hope that made sense. We can really just see how rowing applies from water onto machine. And so keeping these big concepts in mind is gonna help us hopefully be able to make our rowing more efficient. And if you want specific critiques, if you want to work one-on-one with me, I offer form reviews on my website, as well as my 20-day coaching program, Row 20. If you're interested, I've also got training plans on my website too. And if you ever have any questions, just let me know. But I hope this video can be helpful, provide a little bit more insight into you and your rowing journey. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you got a chance to watch the Rowing Olympics, did you have any fun, any races that were a big highlight for you? Let me know down in the comments and let me know what you want to see next from me. But keep up the great work, everyone. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.